What's going on, arcade nerds? We have a cool project here. This is a Black Widow that is dead. And, well, sort of. I was able to get some kind of goofy sounds that sound sort of like Black Widow out of it. So hold on, I'm gonna plug this in. Okay, right off the bat, you can see we have a spot killer. Now, when this light is solid on your monitor, that means it's not getting a signal from the board down here. So, first off, let's do all the basic stuff. I'm going to go ahead and replace the big blue. I'm going to rebuild the power supply. And then we'll, you know what, and I'm going to put a LV2000 kit in this. And then we'll see what we get out of this. And then probably going to have to fix the board also. So, let's get started. Okay, well, I'm gonna totally rebuild this monitor, but for now I'm just gonna pull out the deflection board. 1/4 inch screw right here, 1/4 inch screw right here. Yep. These are the games I enjoy working on. They're actually, they get a bad rap because they break down a lot in their original state. But with, thank God, because of all the upgrades people have done, these are actually dependable. They really are. Once you do everything you're supposed to. I'm just gonna unplug every little damn thing. Now there's a plug right here. It's kind of a pain. You got to squeeze the connectors in to get it. Let's take it out. You got to squeeze this in, squeeze that in. Usually you got to have a flathead screwdriver. I'll be right back. Let me grab a flathead. Okay. I'm just going to kind of push this end in. I'm going to push this end in. I'm not looking. I'm just kind of going by feel. Let me try to look through the camera's viewfinder. See if that helps. Everything's on a delay, like a webcam or something. Oh, you bastard. Got one in. Anyways, you gotta push this plastic piece in and this plastic piece in. I'm gonna go ahead and push this in. We'll get this on the workbench. Okay, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna install this LV2000 kit. You can get these kits from Arcade Shop and wherever else, I don't know. So what I'm gonna do is, there is a triangle. This guy right here, this guy right here, and this guy right here. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to pull this up. I'm just going to yank these off, I don't care. Pull this up, just like that. Pull that up, just like that. And pull that up, just like that. Now all I'm going to do is cut these. Cut them right off. But you see there's the 3 holes that I cleaned. See, what this circuit does is it regulates the voltage going to the deflection transistors. The voltage for the entire monitor. And this was actually sort of a crappy design. If something were to fail, it would actually blow this circuit. But the new regulator that we're going to use That won't happen. Okay, let me clean this up a little bit more. A couple more things I forgot to do. Okay, I'm going to clean a spot right here. And right here. Okay. Now, see the bottom of this? You see this triangle? These 3 pins? Those 3 pins are going to go in those 3 holes that I cleaned, just like that. Looks like I didn't clean this one very well. Okay. I like to leave a little bit of a gap. I don't like to make it flush. So we're going to leave a little bit of a gap between that board and the other board. Now I'm going to solder that on. Just like that. I'm going to clip the leftover leads. Okay, now, remember those 2 holes I told you I forgot about? They are for these wires. That's going to go in right there. That's going to go in right there. I'm going to flip this over. Now there's 2 different types of LV2000 kits. My favorite is the one that Arcade Shop currently sells. It's designed by Clay Cowgill. And that is, I think it's the best one ever made. This one, I've had a few of these die, but the odds that this circuit is going to die are much less likely than if the original circuit were to die. Okay, so actually it's a little crooked and it's bothering me. It's bothering me a little bit here. There, now it's straight. Okay, so now this side has been rebuilt. I'm going to open up the cap kit. Now this cap kit came from Arcade Shop also, and there are several different types of caps. I suggest if you do get a cap for a 6100 monitor, you get the one that has the extra parts in it. It'll actually say on the website which one has the extra parts. And some of these we're not going to use. I believe these two here. These the ones? Anyways, there's 2 caps that are going to go here that we're not going to use because we put this on instead. What I really want is, I don't remember if these 2 caps come in the kit or not, and it looks like they don't. But I always replace these 2 caps because if one of these caps is funny, the picture will be funny this way or this way. So I'm going to go find some caps and replace. Wait, do I have it? Is it on here? We got it? No. Anyways, it's usually not needed, but I'm going to go get some. Okay, so I got a couple of these off the shelf. They're not an exact physical match, but they're going to do. These are rated at a higher voltage, which is fine. You can use a higher voltage cap in place of a lower voltage cap. So I'm just going to do a generic guesstimate bend of these caps, like that. Okay. And I'm going to desolder this. Okay, now this is pointing towards the negative. So negatives needs to be on this side. Okay. Basically, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And let's see. I guess I'll come back on the high voltage circuit. you know, before I get to the deflection board, I want to show you some common things that you should go over because they commonly fail. Okay, number one, go over these both legs on each capacitor, those two large capacitors, and the dummy leg. On both of these large capacitors, there's the two large capacitors on the board. There's a positive, negative, and a dummy. Okay, now these right here, I can actually see a bad joint right here. Can you see it? Can you zoom in on that? You see it, Kelly?
Yep.
Okay. Anyways, you want to go over all of those pins. Every one of those should be resoldered. These pins go to all those connectors on the board, and they commonly, you know, as they've been used over the years, or pulled in or pushed out, they can break the solder joints. So these guys too. There's another bad one I'm fixing right there. Also the degauss plug. Now if you want to, you can even go over the heatsink mounts and these transistors. Especially if your deflection board has been in some parts bin or a box somewhere for several years and it might have been kicked around or whatever, I would suggest doing this right here. Just because you can't see a broken joint doesn't mean it's there. Sometimes, I mean, 99% of the time you can see it, but sometimes you can have a bad joint and it doesn't even look bad. Okay. Oh, there's one more thing. You're going to want to replace this capacitor right here. I'm going to cut this. It's just a zip tie, you can always put it back. Speaking of cold solder joints, there's a cold solder joint. Okay. This was what, 250 or something? 250 or 33? 250 or 33. Comes in the kit. I'll go ahead and put that on. Okay, now let's set this crap aside and let's do the high voltage box. Now I didn't test this yet. I should have probably. See, I'll tell you a trick. Even if you don't have deflection, you can turn up your flyback, the knob on the back that says screen right here, and you should be able to see a dot. You can turn it past where a spot killer tries to kill your beam. And I didn't do that. I'm just going to hope and wish and pray that this works. Because let me tell you what I do. If this sucker works, if it works, I just recap it. If it does not work, most of the time I don't even try to bulletproof this. I will just replace everything. Replace anything that comes in the kit. Now often you'll see this resistor burnt right here, or this resistor burnt, or this resistor burnt, or this resistor burnt. When you start seeing burnt parts, you know it's more than a cap kit. Let's just say that. If you see anything burnt, you're gonna have to start doing more than caps. Okay, so let me. Okay, so my new potentiometer is in there, and yes, I know I should replace the flyback, so I will. Anyways, I really just want to see if this thing works first. That's why I have not gone into all the transistors and so on that are on this board. But I will give you a tip here. Once again, same thing with the deflection board. Reflow all of these. Anywhere where a connector goes in. Okay. I'm just reflowing anything that might stick out and be heavy and move around. Just for shits and giggles. Okay. So let's put this back together. Let me crank up this flyback and see if I even have a dot in the center of the screen. But anyways, yeah, because you see how I have spot killer, that LED lit. That means I'm getting a signal from the board. That means that the deflection is not doing anything right now. So, I mean, I should be able to see a dot, I'm hoping. We'll see. Okay, so I have this inside the chassis again. I still haven't even checked if these transistors are good. They might be good. So if they are good, I'm not going to change them. And this is just sitting right here. Make sure if you ever put this here for testing that you never let it go like that, because you'll fry something. So it's just sitting like that. One thing let me mention, see this pin right here? That's on its own right there. That's your focus pin. Often this will get bent, and if you're messing around with your monitor and everything's way out of focus, you don't know why, check that pin, make sure it's not bent. Okay, so we're just going to put this back in. Also, these two capacitors, they rarely fail, and I'm not going to replace them unless I know they're bad. But if they do fail, what you're going to see is squiggles on the picture. You know what I mean? Okay, so let's put this back together. I'm going to crank up my flyback, and let's see if we at least have a dot on the screen. Okay, we have a dot on the screen, which is beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and turn this down. So since we have this dot, we know one thing. We know our whole high voltage side is good and working. So those extra transistors that could have been put in, Kelly, it like said Black Widow for a second. It said Black Widow for a second. Okay. All right. Since it said Black Widow for a second, and it's trying some stuff right now, this is where we're gonna go. I'm gonna go inside here, and this chip right here, it's called the Atari Vector Generator chip, the AVG chip. I'll bet you $100 we'll put a brand new chip in here, and it's gonna fire up and run. Okay, so this is the chip I suspect is going funny, and it commonly goes funny. Matter of fact, if you own an Atari Color Vector besides Tempest, I suggest you get this chip whether it works or not. Okay, so that sucker's out. Here's a new one. If I can get it out. Now, see the number 1 right here? See that number 1? That signifies pin 1. Pin 1 is where the notch is. Now see how this chip has a notch in it and has a little circle? That's also pin 1. We want to match pin 1 with pin 1. Just like that. Okay? And I make sure I got them all in. Okay, they're all in. Okay. I always go around and make sure there's no pins sticking out. I think we're good. Let's plug it back in and see what happens. Okay, so let me kick this thing on. Oh, Kelly stole my cord. Hold on. I'm unplugging you. Okay. We are plugged in, and check it out. Spot killer light is off. I can hear deflection chatter. AVG is working. Okay. And it's looking great. Okay, obviously out of focus here. But let me see if I can hold the camera and adjust the focus at the same time. Okay. Brightness down. Focus. There we go. Well, besides, it looks like we got it working. but I'm not going to leave it on for long, and I'll tell you why. Yeah, sure, we got it working. Big Blue must be replaced, and the I suggest that the AR2 gets rebuilt. But that's about that. If you guys like these kind of videos, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe, tell your friends. Have a good one.